The Human Optimization Podcast is proudly brought to you by Vicon Supplements, where quality meets sustainability. Vicon's all-natural supplements are handcrafted and sustainably produced in Canada, bringing you products that nourish both your well-being and our planet. Visit ViconSupplements.com today and be a part of a greener, healthier future.
Are you ready to embark on a journey to the best version of you? Join me, Lisa Pitel-Killah, as I dive deep into the world of hair tissue mineral analysis and functional medicine with fellow experts, and guide you on the path of unlocking your full potential. As a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, I'm on a mission to reach high-performance professionals from around the world to help you minimize tiring symptoms, maximize health, and gain unstoppable energy. This is the Human Optimization Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Lisa Pitel-Killah, and I am super excited to have on the show today, Lana Kerr. You are going to love this episode. So, Lana is the founder and CEO of Lumisque Skincare and creator of CO2Lift. We're gonna hear all about that today, and you're gonna love it. Lana's primary goal is to educate women about their bodies and the treatment options they have. Menopause can bring a multitude of symptoms that seem overwhelming, but advancements in both treatments and vaginal rejuvenation are both state-of-the-art and safe. Symptoms like dryness, discomfort, and clitoral atrophy can significantly affect a woman's emotional well-being and relationships. Despite the reluctance to discuss these topics, Lana champions open conversations around them and promotes the benefits of vaginal rejuvenation as a potential solution. Welcome to the show, Lana.
Oh, Lisa, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm super excited for you to be here. And, you know, I feel like, and I'm going to ask you to share a little background because I know my listeners always love hearing how you got here and why this is, you know, part of what you have created. But I want to say, you know, even for myself, 51 now, right? Just entering kind of into that perimenopause stage, that I feel like this is something that really needs to be constantly talked about because I feel like a lot of women are trying to go through this all on their own.
I would totally agree. I'm 53 and I started the whole perimenopausal early. Like I was in my early 40s when I got my first hot flash. And then just my pursuit of how to manage that. So I can confidently say that I love this time of my life, but I think it's because I've taken advantage of technology. But I agree, there's so much more that needs to be discussed. And I'm so happy to have, you know, women like yourself that are talking about it. So to make more women familiar, because I can tell you when just even 2 years back, Lisa, it wasn't the same conversations we're having.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, okay, let's start with you. So a little background on you. Where'd you come from and how'd you end up here? Tell us about your journey.
So my educational background is in accounting and finance. So that's kind of where it started off. And then I went back to school and studied nutrition and opened weight loss clinics. So for the last 20 years, that's what we have. And then what happened is when people started losing weight, they wanted to, you know, do things for their skin. They wanted to start taking better care of other areas of their body. So we decided to open med spa. And in looking for something that was as unique as our weight loss system, we came upon carboxytherapy. And we have a version that is painless. It's a gel delivery system. It was developed and created in Japan, and we have the exclusive license to that technology.
Amazing. Wow. And so let's talk a little bit about, I want to talk about that technology and what products relate to it. And then we'll go back to kind of talk about some of the things that menopause brings about and how that technology can help.
Okay. So carboxytherapy is very old. It started back in the 1100s. If any of your listeners, if you've gone to Japan, you know they're famous for their hot springs. So one of them is called a carbonic hot springs, where CO2 gas is kind of that's what they're getting right? And the samurai warriors after battle would bathe in those hot springs to help to regenerate their wounds very quickly. And they also have those springs in France, but then they developed the needle version where they would get the tank of CO2 and then it would penetrate your skin, and that would be the delivery mechanism.
Okay.
So now the gel is simply you mix two gels together, and it creates CO2 gas. And when you put it on the skin, it penetrates to the microcirculatory level. What it does, it quickly regenerates skin. So I'll just give you an example. If you put the gel on a non-healing diabetic ulcer, we have closed that in as little as 8 days. So that's how powerful it regenerates. And anything that has that sort of wound healing capacity, it's very beneficial for an aesthetic component. So for skin health, but again, it's skin all over the body.
Yeah.
So that's kind
absolutely.
of our box in a nutshell.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I was on the website last week actually taking a look and being like, okay, where am I going to order, right? And because it's like face, cheeks, like everything, because it's about the whole body, not just the face, right? Not just I feel like we're always kind of uber focused on our face and things like that, but there's more to it than that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I think the older you get, you don't kind of recognize it. I mean, no, I'm seeing my stomach. Like I put the CO2Lift there. I mean, on your knees, they can create. I mean, like areas like that you really didn't think when you were younger. But yes, the skin is totally can be applied anywhere in the body, and you're going to see the benefit for whatever part. So whether it be just aesthetic or functionality, it's going to help you to feel more confident.
Amazing. So let's kind of dive back now and talk a little bit about the start of why women would do vaginal regeneration. And so, I mean, this does come back to the menopausal time of life, right? We're entering perimenopause and even after. And let's talk about the impacts of decreased vaginal blood flow for women.
Yes. So, aging, as we mentioned, Lisa, and as you mentioned, it doesn't just affect the skin on our face and our neck. It affects our hair, it affects our hearing, it affects our eyesight. So aging affects our whole body, and our genitals are affected. So you mentioned blood flow, which is something that slows down as we get older. From 25 years old, our microcirculation starts to slow down, and that's why our skin turnover slows down. So as much as you don't really see it in your 20s, if you looked with a magnifying glass on your skin, you may see fine lines. Untreated will turn into deeper lines. And then top it off with the fact, as we get older, our estrogen, our hormone level changes, which affects our quality of skin on our face as well as our vulvovaginal skin. But let's talk about blood flow for that area. We need our clitoris, which is on our vulva, needs blood flow to operate optimally, because the clitoris is very much like an inverted penis. Right? And the penis needs blood flow. You wouldn't see a man having sex with a flaccid penis. Well, so many of us as women have sex with a flaccid clitoris. So we're not getting the enjoyment out of it that we can. So it shrinks and then atrophies. So that's where our clitoris will atrophy. So we don't get the sensation that we used to. And that was my experience when I turned 40. I was about 47 at the time, and I was taking bioidenticals. I started bioidenticals in my 40s too. So, and still I notice a difference in sensation.
Wow.
For that area. So that's on blood flow and how that affects the vulva.
Okay. And so, and again, I mean, I feel like this is why we share, right? Because I feel like there's going to be somebody listening going, oh my gosh, that's what's happening to me. Right. And so let's talk about, what does the vaginal rejuvenation do for that? Like, how does that all work? How does it go together?
So when we think of that, we have to say vulva vaginal rejuvenation. So we have the two areas. The vulva, which we mentioned, the blood flow, but the vagina is this tissue in there is as thin as the skin under our eyes. We know that is skin, it shows age first. That area can get dry and brittle. So we think of vulva vaginal rejuvenation, we have to think of something that involves blood flow for one, for our clitoris. And then we have to think about something that rebuilds tissue. And so that's kind of how I thought of the CO2Lift technology for this area, because when I was experiencing that and then got education as to what really is happening to me, At the time when I had gone to my gynecologist, they said that I didn't have a lubrication problem, but I'll tell you, Lisa, what happened after. So I understood now what happens with the vulva, what happens because of decreased blood flow, decrease in estrogen, what it's doing. And I was on estrogen, but still in the vaginal tissue. So I said, okay, I went to one of my advisory board, who's a cosmetic gynecologist.
Yeah.
And we talked about, would you think the carboxy, the CO2 lift would be great in this area? And he said, it's answering all the problems, because remember we talked about a diabetic ulcer, and Lisa, the problem with diabetics is blood flow to the extremities. Their circulation is bad, so that's why they don't heal well. So if we can do that, we can do something for the vulva. So we did a double-blind study, which means the patient is not aware of what they're taking, if they're getting the real stuff or a placebo, as well as investigators. And what we found, we started with just a pilot study, and then we did a larger one, which was published, and we just completed a larger one, which we added stress incontinence to that is being published. So basically, the women that got the placebo showed no change in sexual function. The women that got the CO2 Lift V showed significant changes in lubrication, orgasm, sensitivity, decrease in painful sex, even the aesthetic benefit. And then when we did biopsies, just 10 treatments later, that tissue looks vibrant and healthy. So we know that CO2 Lift V is very, it's a very promising way to help women who are suffering from any of those conditions, or even if you are not suffering, it's a way to prevent it from happening.
Oh, I was thinking about that too. I'm like, well, what about the other side of things, right? And okay, so so even if women aren't struggling with some of these things, it can still help, right? To keep as a preventative kind of anti-aging measure. And how, like, is there a way to, or is there options for the type of rejuvenation that they do? Like, what does that look like as well? How do they know what is right for them?
I like that. So right now, okay, when you think of vaginal rejuvenation, most people would think it's surgery, right? Surgical, because there are different solution or different problems that a woman may have that has to be addressed surgically. For instance, I just recently had a vaginoplasty. So what is that? A vaginoplasty is when you tighten the muscles inside your vagina. So, and it's interesting. I did it. It's 5 weeks ago today. And what happens is that there are 3 different ways in which a woman sexually performs or needs help with. So you have the tissue, right? So the tissue we mentioned gets thinner. So for that tissue rebuilding, you have things, energy-based devices that can help. So you can go to a doctor, they put controlled damage to that tissue to now start rebuilding. That's one way you could do it. The CO2 V is another way, but you can do that at home. So that's the price of your home. You're doing the same thing, except that it's not actually damaging the tissue. Because once you put CO2 into the body, into the tissue, it's a natural process that takes place where the hemoglobin drops, unloads oxygen, and picks up the CO2 lift. So that's what's happening. So that's an option, another way. So then the second thing is your blood flow, the clitoris, right? So you need another option, which people do nitric oxide, some people, but this is addressing it locally, the tissue there. Then the other one is a muscle. So that's where a vaginoplasty will come in, where they kind of pull back the muscle. So when I did mine, they do a measurement, and I'm not remembering the name or the actual term it is, but they measure the pressure of when an object goes inside. Typically, when a woman goes in for vaginoplasty, it's usually measured around 0 to 3, where mine was a 6. And it went from a 6 to a 9.
Got it.
So I like preventative. So my husband didn't have a problem, but I was sensing a difference. And even if you don't have kids, Lisa, you're like that elastic band, which stretches with kids. Even if you didn't have kids, you put an elastic band down. After a while, it's not as much elastic anymore. It will pop. So I wanted to kind of tighten that up. So to answer your question, what are the options? You can have surgery, you can do energy-based devices that are available, and you can do carboxy therapy, which is what we're talking about here too.
Amazing. Well, and I think that there is definitely, again, this is something that you mentioned it earlier, a couple of years ago, people weren't having these conversations, but they need to, because again, I feel like there's so many times that even with guests on the show and we bring something to the table, and it's like there's so many people suffering in silence with these issues, just not even realizing that there's any options for them. And again, you know what? Maybe surgery doesn't resonate with everybody, but having or using the CO2, Lift V, I think is a great option,
Yes,
right?
for sure, for sure.
And
And just to
yeah,
say, I mean, Lisa, not to cut you off there, but I want to say that, yes, surgery, I wasn't pushing that on anyone. I'm just saying that those
yeah,
are options. So,
yeah,
but you understand,
yep,
CO2 lift or really any other device,
hmm,
people will say, for instance, after the VI, will hear people, oh, they feel tighter. It's just that the tissue is thicker. There's
right.
no way to tighten the muscle except through surgery. But just like not
Yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
wants a facelift, not everybody will say, I
Of
want vaginoplasty.
Of
Okay?
course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And so let's talk about too, so CO2 Lift V really does kind of fit a broader range, I feel like, right? It's an easy thing you can do at home. I just feel like a lot of people will take advantage of this. At least I hope they will. What sets it apart from other rejuvenation treatments?
So, okay, so most rejuvenation treatments, and most people are, people are talking about biostimulators,
Mm-hmm.
biogenerators.
Yeah.
CO2 lift is that because it's putting your body in a position to repair itself very quickly.
Yeah.
Where it differs is that one, it's not something that is going to be painful or requires downtime, because most things that you're going to regenerate the tissue with require some type of damage to the tissue for the body to
Right.
start healing. So the CO2 lift requires no damage to the tissue for you to get a similar benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I think is different about this modality is the fact that you control it, you can do it at home.
Yeah.
Even when people think of, like, for instance, exosomes, that's something
Mm-hmm.
that would be done in a doctor's office if they're really getting exosomes.
Yeah.
This CO2 lift is stimulating your own exosomes, stimulating your own growth factors to come to the area.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, and obviously I'm biased, but I think that this is a superior way to regenerate the skin for those reasons and the fact that it's less expensive than all the other reasons.
Right.
So there is, and then there are multiple benefits that you're getting with. So if you think about, some people are familiar with hyperbaric. This is
Yep.
like a hyperbaric in a box. That's what it's like. You can apply it anywhere on the body, anywhere in the face, anywhere in the skin. So people
Mm-hmm.
who had surgery, for instance, and I'm not talking about just vaginal surgery. So for the face and
Mm-hmm.
body one, you can use it. Think of someone who wants to do lipo.
Yep.
They'll get bruising. They can put it right on their bruising. People with an implant, they can put it right on the nipple
Mm-hmm.
to help preserve it. I mean, facelifts, so it's basically a way that you can control that regenerates that tissue
Mm-hmm.
without any downtime.
That's
And we've
amazing.
done several clinical studies on the product with it that
Yeah.
have been published in peer-reviewed journal magazines.
Amazing, amazing. And so I want to we kind of digressed back from the face and things like that, but this is a great way to be able to support obviously anybody's anti-aging protocol that they want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's literally regenerating the tissue.
Yes. So you can actually bathe in it. You know what I'm saying? And
Wow.
it's still
Yeah.
less expensive than hyperbaric. But you're
Yep.
getting the thing with hyperbaric. So hyperbaric, like the CO2 lift, increases oxygen,
Yep.
increases blood supply.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, the CO2 lift, is increasing neovascularization, which hyperbaric doesn't.
Right.
So that's where you get the production of new blood vessels. So that's where I think this really shines with anyone for regeneration, skin
Mm-hmm.
regeneration,
Yep.
And of
Yep.
course, we're talking about vaginal rejuvenation. I feel like it definitely, for me and thousands of, I mean, I talk to women all the time
Yep.
about the results that they're experiencing. It just gives you more, it gives you more control. You feel more confident.
Yep.
Even in, which is interesting, when we did that study, it improved arousal, which
Mm.
improved desire.
Of course.
So
Yep.
that's going to help because we as women have very few sexual cues. I think there's simply the act of taking care of that area is just understanding that sex is going to be better. It just makes you have it more top of mind.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about too, what are some of the struggles? I mean, we've talked a couple times now about how, a couple, 2, 3 years ago, conversations like this just weren't happening. You must have had an uphill battle bringing this out, and having these conversations. What were some of the struggles there?
Definitely. I think, I would liken this to possibly 25 years ago when there was no Viagra or blue pill for men. I mean, you would say you think you go to a man and say, I can give you, stronger erection. He would probably say, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because no one was necessarily addressing it. There was no solution,
Yeah.
right? We're right there now. Many women don't even know there's a problem to find there's a solution. They just accept that this is just part of life.
Right.
So that's for one. There
Mhm.
just was not enough information to show women that this is not a natural, this is part of aging, but just like any other part of aging, we can address it.
Right.
Also, too, I think just the culture of women, that's what I've had a problem with, is that we women, we don't really, we think that when we talk about issues with that, it's a reflection on who we are as a woman, and it's not. It's so that was something that we had to contend with. Also, too, I remember even just in this was back in 2018, I was invited to, it was Today in Texas. And we couldn't use the term vulva or vagina on Good Morning
Wow.
Texas. And then fast forward to last year, was on another morning show, and we used it, vagina, vulva. I mean, so things have changed.
Yeah.
A lot. So which is helping to kind of spread the word. And then so many more celebrities who are going through menopause are talking. Those things have helped, but those were definitely challenges
Yeah.
for us, because again, no one was talking about it. And so when you don't know there's a problem, why try and find a solution?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. And when we're talking about, so I'm curious just with regards to, I mean, everybody has their facial routine, right? You get up in the morning, you cleanse, maybe use a cert, whatever you're going to do. You put on your CO2 Lift, right? Is there anything else? Let's talk about face and neck and that first. Is there anything else that you need outside of the CO2 Lift that you recommend? Or is that all you really need?
Well, the CO2 lift is not something you'd apply daily, right? So it's a
Okay,
treatment.
that was my question. Okay, so how do we use this? What do we do?
So we're calling it a skin reboot. We did a
Mm.
clinical that was published last year with Dr. Zoe Dralos. She's a very well-respected dermatologist here
Hmm.
in the United States. And what we found is that after 6 treatments done
Yeah.
within a period of a month, you can
Hmm.
actually reboot your skin, meaning you're going to increase elasticity 26%, all the different markers that considered that youthful beauty in the skin,
Hmm.
we have improved by double-digit numbers. So for instance,
Wow.
luminosity, double-digit, reduction in wrinkles, radiance. Hydration is something that is also very important for the skin. We increase it 117% after one application, and it continues to get better. And I like to think of hydration. I always use this analogy of a grape raisin.
Hmm.
Everyone wants that grape-like look on their skin. We unfortunately turn into this raisin, which we can slow that down,
Yeah.
process down. But a
Hmm.
raisin is nothing but a dehydrated grape. So our skin needs water, and that's not accomplished just drinking a gallon of water a day. So you would do 6 treatments and
Hmm.
then maintain it with 1 treatment a month. So that's on the carboxy gel.
Okay.
The 1 treatment a month will keep you maintain and keep the results of those 6 treatments that you did initially.
Hmm.
So you still need your skincare. What it's going to do is
Hmm.
improve whatever skincare, because your skin is going to be thicker, so you can actually hold more water. When you use your moisturizer is going to lock that in. So it's going to help your other skincare products to shine even better.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
On the
And what?
website, sorry,
Yeah. No.
there's a carboxy mousse, which is
Hmm.
a great moisturizer, which can
Yep.
be used daily. But aside from that, whatever
Okay.
skincare routine you use, just continue doing it. We're advocate safe, effective products. As
Yep.
long as we're going to make it even better.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, I did see the moose. And so, what about the CO2 Lift V? Does that work in the same way? You talked about 10 treatments earlier. Is it a little bit more? Or is it the same? What do we do there?
So for that, it's 5 to 10 treatments over 2 weeks. Depends on what
Okay.
your symptoms are.
Got it.
So say someone is not experiencing they just want to maintain what they have. So they're younger. I
Yep.
would suggest to do a minimum of 3. Always 3 is always a minimum.
Okay.
But we on the box, it will tell you 5 to 10 treatments done within 2 weeks, and then you can maintain it with a monthly treatment as well.
Amazing. Wow. Okay. That's amazing. So, all right. So everybody who is listening, watching, I hope that you realize now that if you are in perimenopause or maybe even through menopause and you're having some of these symptoms, some of these issues, that there are answers out there, and answers again that you can do at home, and safe and effective treatments. And I think this is an amazing discovery breakthrough that you've brought into the US to be able to support women, which is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and in Canada too. We launched in Canada in January. So we have places all throughout,
Yep.
Canada that have access to this
Okay.
through their physicians. So the physician has something called a CO2Lift Pro,
Okay.
which is a professional version.
Yep.
But also in Canadians can buy on our website, and it's shipped there in Canada. But I
Perfect.
want to also point out too, Lisa, is that on the V product, it's hormone free. So some women who are not able to take hormones for whatever reason, this is a great solution for them, that they can feel confident. There's no hormones, and they can get the benefits as if they were using some type of estrogen.
Okay, that's perfect. And the Pro V, the one that the doctors have, like let's say they go that route, is that one different? What's
No, not the
different?
V. The V is the same as what's sold on the website.
Okay.
The difference with the Pro face and body
Yep.
is just concentration, as well as have other things that like linoleic acid that's not in the one online.
Got it.
So that's the difference in that, but it's
Okay.
using the same technology.
Okay, excellent. And so we'll have all of the links to, website and things like that. And Lana has been kind enough to share a promo code, and we're going to do LPK10. So if you're interested in trying out this amazing CO2Lift skincare or CO2Lift V, head to the website and you can use LPK10 to get yourself a discount. And so, Lana, thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your journey, for sharing your breakthrough with our audience. Again, I think we both know that we do this because we want to educate, we want to share, and we want to allow people to understand and realize that there are options at any stage of life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and technology is continuing to advance for us to be able to even have better quality of life as we continue to age and have wisdom, but we can still have full functionality.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to my channel. There's a brand new episode every 2 weeks. Give this episode a thumbs up. And for those of you listening on your favorite podcast host, make sure you follow us and make sure you give this episode a like, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today on the Human Optimization Podcast. Episode technical production is by Grace Sylvester and guest booking by Stu Tate. Want to learn more? Visit Pitel-Killah.com for incredible free resources to supercharge your journey to becoming the best version of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to the Human Optimization Podcast and follow me on social media at Pitel-Killah.